Good evening and welcome to the Dave Ray Show. I'm your host, Dave Ray, here with Chris Jackson, who is a county commissioner for which district?
Two. Second district.
Also the chairman pro-tempore of the Lawrence County Commission.
Absolutely.
Well, it's great to have you on the show. I've been looking forward to this.
Thank you, Dave. Appreciate the invite.
So Chris is also looking into running for county executive, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, so let's talk about some county executive stuff.
Okay.
Because that's the fun subject to talk about.
Sure.
So let's talk about some problems in Lawrence County. So talk about 5 problems you see in Lawrence County.
Well, Dave, when you say problems, I want to think about more like challenges.
Sure.
I came on the commission in 2006 as a 19-year-old kid. My district took a big chance on me, and I appreciate that. And at that time, we did have big problems. Murray, Ohio had just closed. Unemployment rate had skyrocketed close to 20%. Our jail had been shut down. We were housing inmates all over the Tennessee, paying other counties to house them. So we had major issues then. If you look where we are now, we've come a long way. But we still have a ways to go before we secure a better future for everybody. So some of the things I would like to see us improve in, I think we need to continue to look for opportunity for our people. Not only just our older folks, but our younger folks. We need to make sure that the next generation of Lawrence Countyans have a better opportunity to live here, raise their families, and have a job than the previous generation. Second, I think we need to continue to be aggressive on our economic development, whether that means having available land or a skilled workforce. That's something that we've got to clamp down on and be relentless. A third issue I think we have to look at is crime and drugs. The infiltration of things like fentanyl in our community and heroin, it's just devastating. So we're going to have to really address those. You know, these are not just Lawrence County issues, though. These are regional issues and, for most part, national issues. But we have to do our part. And also, something, since I've been on the commission, that I think is important, we have to make sure we keep taxes low. This next year, the state mandated reappraisal will be coming up, and the county will be given a certified rate. And we will have the opportunity to either keep it at that rate, which would raise taxes on a bunch of folks, or we could lower it back down to that rate that they give us. And I'm a believer that we need to lower it back as much as possible, especially with the way inflation is and everything else. People have enough things going on without us raising their taxes. Another issue that I think that we are going to talk about later is emergency services. I think for the most part, our men and women do a great job in Lawrence County, but there's things that the county executive and the county commission can do to improve that, and it will cost money, and we can talk about that in a minute. And a final issue, I think we need to focus on our infrastructure. As a county commissioner, I get phone calls all the time or Facebook messages. You know, I've got a pothole on my road.
Yes.
It's tearing my new car apart. You know, and there's only so much Donnie Joe Brown in the road department can do because they can only do as much as the money that we allow them to have and the state aid that they get from the state. So we're going to have to look at that. And it all goes back to being competitive. In the past, we've had 4 years where we've sat still as a county. But over the last 4 to 8 years, we've moved forward probably faster and quicker than any time in recent history. And we need to continue to do that, but it's going to take some hard work.
I agree, for sure. So do you believe we have any problems with our emergency services in any capacity?
I think the problem is that a lot of times they're understaffed, and that's for a number of reasons. We've lost a lot of good folks over the years because our salaries wasn't competitive as they should have been. We have fixed that for the most part over the last couple of years. The commission came and worked with Larry Glass and the EMS to make sure that those are competitive to other surrounding counties. So we are starting to keep our good people in place, but we need additional personnel. We need 4 to 5 ambulances on that road every single day.
I agree.
Especially with COVID the way it is, that they have been running COVID calls crazy. So that takes an ambulance out, and you're transporting people to Franklin, to Nashville. And you have people having heart attacks or for whatever reason around the county, and they're waiting on ambulances. And that's not these guys' fault.
Right.
That's our fault for not investing in additional personnel to make sure that we have people on those ambulances every day. I got a call about there was an injury at a football game recently, and there wasn't an ambulance there. And the reason there wasn't an ambulance there, they were making COVID calls where they were picking people up and transporting them. They just couldn't have somebody there. If there's a football game or any other kind of school-related game where a student could get injured, I think we need to do our best to have an ambulance there on hand. We used to do it, and it was more feasible back then. There were fewer people in the county, fewer schools. Summertown wasn't playing football at the time, but when you've got 3 football games going in the county and you only have 3 ambulances and you're getting COVID calls and you're getting other health-related calls, it makes it awfully difficult. So as county executive, that's one thing that I would look into strongly is to not only have additional personnel, but having the infrastructure on the road, having those ambulances out in our communities, stationed strategically, in Loretta, Summertown, and here in Lawrenceburg, so the response times are appropriate.
Right. So how do you feel about the transportation system? You're kind of talking about infrastructure, so kind of tap in on the transportation side of things.
Well, I think we have a big opportunity over the next few years to improve our infrastructure. Anybody that pays attention to the national news saw that the bipartisan infrastructure bill passed in Congress, and Tennessee's going to get about $8 billion worth of that to come back here. And of course, the state will decide which projects get that, but a lot of that will be coming down to the local level. And I think that it's time for Lawrence County to revamp our road systems. When Donnie Joe Brown came into office in 1998, he put into place, along with the commission at the time, a road building program that basically brought every road in the county from dirt to paved in some form or fashion. Well, some of these roads now are getting to be 20, 22 years old. And they're doing the level best that they can to keep up with that. But if you look at the price of asphalt, tar and gravel, gasoline, it eats their budget alive. So we're going to have to go back to the drawing board, and ever who the next road commissioner is in Lawrence County, work with them, put a plan into place that gives them the adequate amount of funding to revamp this road building program. Every single year we need to have a schedule of roads that we're constantly repairing and repaving. And over the past few years, we've kind of slowed down on that because of the money crunch. Just like everything else, it's going to take additional money. But thankfully, over the last few years, the County Commission and TR have worked hard to build our fund balances. They're at historic highs right now. Years ago, when I came onto the commission, our first job was to unfortunately have to raise taxes for a jail. That's how bad things were. Right now, our fund balance was $8 million in the general fund last year. It's never been that before. I'll go ahead and tell you, I think TR is probably one of the best county executives this county's ever had. Teresa Purcell, you won't find a better financial agent in the county, in the state, to do that job. But as county executive, you have the power to appoint a budget committee, and you're chairman of that budget committee. And there's been very few budget committee meetings that I've missed in 16 years. So I'll be able to hit the ground running on day one to appoint a budget committee to look at these issues, and especially our infrastructure. That's one of those issues that touches everybody every single day.
Right.
You pull out of your driveway, you get on a road, and you just start your day off bad if you're on a road and you hit a pothole or you get caught up in traffic or something like that. So people just want their tax dollars spent wisely, and I think infrastructure is probably one of the best ones you can spend it on.
I agree, for sure. So what about the opioid and drug problem that we have here?
It's terrible. I worked at the Sheriff's Department for the better part of a decade in the office. So I saw a lot of these issues firsthand, talking to the officers. And when I started, it was more of the meth in the community. You don't see as much of that nowadays. It's more of the fentanyl and the heroin, unfortunately, a lot stronger drugs. We're going to have to step up, and we can do that by partnering with our federal partners and our state partners. Over the past several years, we've done a pretty good job of that, having a recovery court in Lawrence County, having a substance abuse coalition in Lawrence County. We're making strides in the right direction, but this is a constant battle. When I worked at the Sheriff's Department, I would see, family members come down because their son or their daughter or their granddaughter was arrested because of drugs. And it's not just a drug issue, it's an economic development issue. When you're in jail, you can't provide for a family.
Right.
You can't have a job. It tears families apart.
Mm.
It tears communities apart. It hurts our workforce. Our employers want good, dependable, and reliable workers, and they can't get that. It's just amazing how fast a drug can take over a community, and we're no different than any other community. If you look in Tennessee and all across this nation, it's pitiful, but we're going to have to do better. And on that front, I'm a big proponent of doing away with private probation. I saw that firsthand working down there, how private probation can ruin people. You get arrested for a minor drug offense, and you go to jail, and you take a plea deal, and you get private probation. And the terms of that are so strict sometimes that you have to pay certain things that you can't meet those standards. And if you can't pay it on a certain day, or your family can't pay that, you get your probation revoked, and you go back to jail.
Wow.
And if you can't make bail, you sit in jail. And a lot of these folks, if you commit a violent crime, you need to have your butt in jail.
Right.
No doubt about it.
Mm-hmm.
If you're robbing somebody, if you're committing assault, you need to be in jail. But if it's a drug-related offense, we need to focus on rehabilitation. These folks are never going to get better if they're sitting in jail. And private probation is a big reason for that. And there shouldn't be a profit incentive when it comes to criminal justice. That's a nationwide issue, but we can do something about it here in Lawrence County. The county commission and the county executive can decide to bring that in-house and do it under the purview of the county government. Now, again, it would cost a little bit of money because you would have to hire some people to be your probation officers. But from what I've heard over the years and talking to people, it's something that I think a majority of Lawrence Countyans would support. Most people don't think that you should spend your days rotting in jail if you have an addiction. You need to be getting help. And it shouldn't cost an arm and a leg to get that help. We're not doing any good by just paying to house inmates. We should be spending that money on education, economic development, and everything else. So that's one big issue that I've been involved in before on the commission, is looking at the private probation system. And I'll tell you, unless I see something that totally changes my mind, I'm ready to scrap it.
So how are you going to combat these problems? You talked about 5 problems earlier. What solutions do you have for those problems?
Well, one thing that I will say that will allow me to address these problems, I'll be able to do the job on day one. I've got 16 years of experience being on the county commission. I've served the last 7 years as chairman Pro-Tem, which is basically the sidekick to the county executive in case, God forbid, he becomes incapacitated. And TR has allowed me to chair different committees and gave me different tasks. So I've learned the job and the duties of being county executive without actually being county executive. So, when it comes to economic development, I was talking about we've got to retain our competitiveness. One thing, we're going to have available space for new industries to come in. That means we're going to have to build a spec building. Where that spec building is going to go, we don't know, because we need additional land.
Right.
We have to be proactive when it comes to economic development, because other communities aren't waiting around the country and around the state. So we've got to do that, creating more opportunity for our people on economic development. We've got to recruit those higher paying jobs. I told you our unemployment rate has gone from about 20% down to 3.6% over the last decade. It's true, we've got a lot of good jobs here, but not all of them's the kind of jobs that we need. We need more of the $20, $25 an hour jobs that you can raise a family on.
Right.
That's the biggest thing. Folks have jobs now, but I don't think they're jobs that they're happy with. They're not jobs that, if they had their choice, that they would take otherwise. People shouldn't spend all their time focused on a job or working 2 jobs. Family's important, spending time with your family. So we need to do all we can to bring those good paying jobs into Lawrence County. In terms of keeping taxes low that I was talking about. That's going to be a challenge. I think one thing that I'm in favor of is looking at a senior citizen tax freeze. This is something other counties around the state have done, and what that will do is you would put in whatever the rate is now, you would freeze it for those 65 and older in your community. So if there was a future tax increase, taxes had to be raised for whatever reason, it wouldn't affect those senior citizens.
Wow.
Their rates would stay in place as they are right now. I'd also like to revisit an issue that a lot of folks have asked me about, and that's the solid waste fee. Wasn't a popular thing when they put it into place back in the 90s, and the money's got to come from somewhere to fund our solid waste operations. But like I said, we have a pretty strong fund balance right now. I think if we did some real work on that, we could do away with that solid waste fee, which is $50-something a year, and move that our funds coming out of the general fund to help pay for that instead. It's just finding ways so folks can keep more of their money. At the end of the day, I went to the grocery store the other day. Things that were costing $2, $3 just a year or so ago during the pandemic, now $5 or $6. When you ring up at the register, when you expect it to be $50, $60 and it's $90, it's a big jump. And you got to look at healthcare premiums, everything else families have to do.
Right.
So, we've got as a local government to find ways, whether it's just a few dollars, those few dollars matter to people. So we've got to find small ways like that to keep the taxes low. Another issue that I think is important, I didn't mention it with the challenges first off, is animal-related issues. You don't think of this when you think of all the big issues that a county faces, but we have a bad stray animal issue in this county. And if you talk to the sheriff, he'll tell you it's the #1 driver of calls on just about any given day.
Wow.
It's either animal traffic, vicious animals, animals loitering on somebody's property, and there's nothing that they can do about it. Unless they find out that the pet belongs to somebody, they can then cite them for allowing their animal to roam at large. But TR had tasked me with chairing an animal welfare committee last year. For the first time ever, we actually put a committee together to look at these issues to see what we could do. And what the committee did, working with Friends of Lawrence County Animals, which is a nonprofit group, we've started a new spay and neuter program in Lawrence County. And what that did, we gave about $25,000 to go toward a spay and neuter program that provides a free spay and neuter to anybody that wants one.
Wow.
We think that's going to be a good first step in helping control the animal population. But we need to partner with the city and the other cities on the animal shelter. If the sheriff does encounter an animal or somebody out in the county, elderly folks, they have stray animals come up on them all the time. And it breaks your heart to hear, well, I can't afford to feed this animal. I don't know what to do with it. They don't have anything to do with it. They need help if that does happen. I believe another issue that we need to talk about probably would be, our it kind of dovetails back to our economic competitiveness, would be to see what we're going to do in terms of bringing jobs back to our local governments here. So, there's just a number of things in that area that I think that I could provide my experience. Like I said, I can do the job. I've been there. I think of everybody running right now, I do have the most experience. So I think that is one thing as I go out and talk to folks. They want a county executive that has the requisite experience to do the job starting on day one.
Wow. So we're going to be right back after this quick commercial break.
Introducing Cloud9 Fiber to Lawrenceburg. We take great pride in being the only locally owned and operated internet company within Lawrenceburg and Lawrence County. We're now offering up to gigabit services with plans starting at $50 per month. Surf the internet with blazing fast speeds and reliability, all while keeping your investment within Lawrence County. For more information, visit cloud9fiber.com to request for us to build your area next.
Industrial LED Lighting is Middle Tennessee's choice for quality, affordable lighting solutions. With many years of experience and many satisfied customers, Industrial LED stands ready to serve you. Our large variety of high-quality products and great customer service ensures that you always walk out satisfied. Industrial LED Lighting is located at 319 Jerry Street in Lawrenceburg. Stop in today and let us serve you. Industrial LED Lighting, we are the light.
Ray's Produce and More is a family-owned and operated produce house located at the west end of Lawrence County, Tennessee. Ray's Produce offers a large selection of fresh and local produce and much more. Headed to Laurel Hill Lake, we offer a great selection of fishing bait and live worms too. Stop in Monday through Saturday from 9:30 to 5:30 for exceptional customer service and even better produce. Visit us at 42 Chisholm Crossing, Lawrenceburg, Tennessee, or give us a call at 931-629-0717. Don't forget, you can find us on Facebook too.
And we're back with Chris Jackson, who is a county commissioner and the chairman pro-tempore of the Lawrence County Commission. So next question, well, not really a question, but let's talk about your agenda.
Dave, I think, as we've talked about, I have three key areas: economic development, infrastructure, and criminal justice. Those are three areas that I think touch everybody in Lawrence County, and three issues and areas that I have experience in if I were to run for county executive. On the economic development front, I've served on the ECD board on the county commission. As I said, as county executive, I would be chairman of the budget committee. One of my first actions would be to partner with the city of Lawrenceburg to construct a new industrial park, get a new industrial park first, and then build a spec building for industry to look at. If you don't have a industrial park that has available land and available buildings, you're not going to be competitive when it comes to economic development. And we need that if we're going to bring the jobs of the 21st century to Lawrence County. We've got some good news on the way. You know, I can't talk about any of the details, but there are some exciting announcements coming. But the more announcements we make, the fewer opportunities we're going to have in the future, because they are taking up the land that we do have. It's a good problem to have.
Yes.
But it's a problem we're going to have to address. And I've been in on these negotiations before. You know, when the county is asked to purchase land or to give a tax abatement. I was there when TIF, tax increment financing, was put into place so we could help use that as a tool to go out and recruit industry. I'm familiar with all those things. It's not something I'll have to learn on the job. It's something that I can do on day one. When it comes to infrastructure, like I said, we need to totally revamp our road paving program. You know, that needs to be a focus on day one, because it's not something that's going to happen overnight. We've got to invest more money in our roads and our bridges to make sure that they're not only safe, but, you know, roads and bridges make us competitive on economic development. These industries come here and, you know, they look at our community and they decide whether they want to bring their families here. You know, that's a big thing. And one issue that I neglected to mention a while ago, but it's also going to be part of my emphasis, is schools. We have one of the best school systems in Tennessee. There for a while, we were named the best in the region every single year.
Wow.
And the continuity is amazing. You go from Dr. Bill He to Mr. McDaniel and now to Mr. Atkins. It's amazing that we continue that. So it tells me we've got a lot of good teachers, we've got a lot of good staff, and we got good kids, but we're going to have to do more in that area. We need to partner with the schools to make sure that we continue to focus on college and vocational. You know, we just can't have a linear view, and our school system's probably done one of the best in the state focused on vocational.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing. You saw when you were there. Those are jobs that when you get out of school, you can have for the rest of your life if you want.
Right.
They're good paying jobs. You can raise a family
Yes.
on it. And we shouldn't get into this tunnel vision like everybody's got to go to college. That's not true. You know, we need to have that option for kids. I work for Tennessee Tech as my day job down at the Southern Tennessee Higher Education Center. But I recognize that the next step of that campus should be vocational. It needs to be a TCAT building. We've got Tennessee Tech, we've got UT Southern, and we got Columbia State there, but we need something locally for those folks that want a certificate or some other vocation. They can get that certificate, go to work, they supply our workforce, and they make darn good money. A lot of times better than you do with a college degree.
Right.
So we need to make sure we're doing all we can with the school system on that front. The teachers are doing all they can. What we can do is our economy grows, in which it has, and we've done this, give them more of a portion of the sales tax, which allows the school system to invest in their employees, technology, things of that nature to help local education. Specifically, I would still like to see new facilities in Lawrence County. We had a school building program in Lawrence County several years ago, and inflation on construction costs took the price from $20 million a school to close to 40.
Wow.
So that's the reason that wasn't completed. But I'm not giving up on it. If we can continue to grow this economy and bring new people into Lawrence County and grow our tax base, there's no reason why we can't have good schools. Summertown School, I mean, you look at it, it's been there for years, and for years it was overcrowded. It's not as overcrowded it is now. Loretta, the school there, was built in the 50s. Lawrence County High, I think, was built in the 70s, early 70s. You're looking at 60-year-old schools now. And it's not all about a facility.
Right.
We may can do some renovation and retrofitting, but, that makes kids feel good when they go to school.
Right.
I mean, you've been there. You walk into a school, and it's all about how it makes a student feel, the learning environment. Our teachers are doing all they can, but I think we need to do that. Loretta's getting a new gym. One thing I would love to see is Summertown either get a new gym or a new football field. They've got a football program that they've basically brought from nothing over the past few years. And it's done from a lot of hard work of the community. They've raised money to get bleachers and lights and everything else, but it's not a football field comparable to Loretta or Lawrenceburg. And I think every kid, no matter where they go to school, they need to be treated the same.
Right.
They need to have the same opportunities. If a kid is learning computer programming or robotics in Lawrenceburg, they should have the same opportunity at Loretta or Summertown. I think the more that we can get those vocational courses down to the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade level, the better. If it takes more money, so be it. But that's where the 21st century economy is going. The sooner we can get those kids with those skills and get them ready for high school, and then whether it's TCAT or college, the better off we'll be. And then I believe the other issue I talked about would be criminal justice, and emergency services. Like I said, this is something that we're all relying on. These men and women deserve our respect and our honor, the job that they do. On the ambulance service, that is one thing that the county executive has direct supervision over. So I would work with the county commission to come up with additional personnel to make sure there is an ambulance on the road, 4 or 5 ambulances. I would ask my team of experts which we need, 4 or 5. But we need the personnel there to at least have 4 on the road at all times. We need to make sure we're providing those folks with ambulance service with the best training possible. If they want to go back to school to become a EMT paramedic, let's do that. Let's help them if they want to go and take a college course at Columbia State. I'm all for the county, chipping in. If they want to improve that and become a better employee, why not invest in our employees? At the Sheriff's Department, like I said, we've worked with Sheriff Myers over the last 4 years on animal issues, but we've got to do more on the drug issues. We've got to lower recidivism in the jail, and we have programs that are doing that, but we have to do more. And we have to remain competitive on our salaries. I can't tell you from when I worked down at the Sheriff's Department to now how many people have left because they either went to the Highway Patrol or the city or another county because it paid more. We shouldn't be losing our best and brightest because of that. We recently did a pay study that took into account all the surrounding areas and got good salary averages for everybody, and we gave hefty salaries. Sometimes they were raised by 25% on individuals. So we are making strides in that region, but it has to keep up. I mean, with inflation the way it is, the cost of living is going up. So we have to constantly be vigilant of that every year when we set our budget to make sure we don't lose those people. And Dave, at the end of the day, people just want a county executive that they believe is doing the job for them. Like I said, I'll hit the ground running on day one as county executive. I know all the contacts at the state, federal, and local level. I know the procedures of the county commission. I know the contacts. I know the duties of the county executive, whether it be over the landfill, the ambulance service, the contributions that he has sitting on these different various boards. None of this would be new for me. And, people just want a better life for their kids and grandkids. And that's the reason I got into public service to begin with, is to do that. And I'm listening to people. Went to a breakfast in Henryville Saturday, talking to folks what matters to them, listening to them. And I hope we'll make a decision over the next few weeks of whether I will run for county executive or I'll run for re-election on the commission.
Well, Chris, anything you'd like to say to the voter specifically, just straight to the voter, what would you want to tell them?
Well, if I do end up running for county executive, I will be a county executive for all of Lawrence County, not just a Democrat or Republican county executive. I would be running as an independent because I feel that at the local level, there's not a Democrat or Republican way to address potholes or to ensure that we have a better education. Those issues would only divide us. So I feel running as an independent would be the best way to serve all the people. If I was entrusted to be your county executive, I would shoot from the shoulder every single day and tell you the truth. It's not always going to be popular. I've taken unpopular stances on the county commission before. I've been in 17-1 votes. It doesn't bother me if I feel like I'm standing up for the right thing and I'm able to explain that to the people that I represent. That's what being a leader means. If I run for county executive, I can tell you that will be 100% of my focus. I won't have any outside ventures that I'm involved in that will take away from my time. The only other thing that will take away from my time will be my wife and kids. I will be a county executive that will come in the morning and won't leave till the job's done at the end of the day. And I'll work hard for the people of Lawrence County. Like I said, I believe out of all the candidates that have expressed interest in running this time, I do have the most experience. I believe you can ask the county executive. I've been a team player. You can ask any of the mayors. I know every single mayor in this county by name and have their number. I can call them and we have a relationship. Relationships matter.
They do.
If you're wanting to lead and work with people, you've got to be a team player and you've got to have a relationship, and I've got that. So I would say if experience matters to you, if you want a county executive where we're not going to lose a year or two having on-the-job experience, I ask for your consideration. Like I said, I'm still in the midst of deciding whether I want to run or not. My dad passed away in August, so this kind of pushed everything back to the back burner for me. And I understand it's getting late in the process, but politics really didn't matter much when all that was going on. And I just, I wake up every day thinking about what would make him proud. I just wish I had him here with me now to ask questions and to see what he thinks. But, that's just who I am. I'm just an average guy. Grew up in Loretta. Nothing special about me. Went to school, worked my way through school, worked at the Sheriff's Department, now at Tennessee Tech. Have a beautiful wife, Kaylee, a 3-year-old son, Theo. And people are what matter to me. And I don't second guess anybody in this race. I know they're good people. But like I said, I believe I have the most experience to offer this county. I love this county, and I want to go to work for it if I run for county executive.
Wow, that's a very good statement. Is there anything else you'd like to add that I've missed or that you may want to hit on before we end the interview?
One issue, Dave, and me and you discussed this briefly earlier today, is the redistricting. At the state level, they released the maps last week, and I think they're going to consider the maps this year. Every 10 years, based on the census, they have to go back and redraw all the lines of the state. And this time, Lawrence County looks like it's got the short end of the stick. For the last 8 to 10 years, we've been in 2 districts in Lawrence County with basically from Summertown down being with Giles County. The way they've got it drawn now, basically the top north half of the county would be with part of Murray County, Wayne County, and a portion of Hardin County. And the lower part would be with Giles and I believe another county. So Lawrence County used to be whole when it came to having a state representative. And this isn't Clay Doggett's fault or anybody else's fault. There was a committee tasked with doing this, and this is the proposals that they came back with. But it's going to make it extremely difficult for local governments to work with the state when you're in a district with 3 or 4 other counties. When you're lobbying for grant money or for funding or for jobs, state projects, and you have to go to multiple state representatives, and they may be in competition. You may be in competition with another county they represent. It just raises a whole lot of issues, and I don't think Representative Doggett is real happy with the maps either. And I've got a resolution on the commission this month to ask them to go back to the drawing board, kind of the way they did 8, 10 years ago. They went back and changed it a little bit and kept us more whole, but this is by far the worst map I've ever seen on redistricting, and I think it would really hurt Lawrence County and our relationship with the state. So I urge anybody that is concerned about that to go to the state's website and contact Representative Doggett. And if you live in the north end of the county, contact Representative Byrd, contact Senator Hensley, and ask them to go back and help us a little bit. I know they represent other counties, but we as Lawrence Countyans should have our best interest at heart.
Right.
We should care about Lawrence County, and I can tell you, if we're in competition with 4 other counties in one district, it's going to put us at a disadvantage, especially since we don't have a senator or a representative from Lawrence County. So that's on my mind right now. I hope it gets changed. If it don't, we'll make the best of it, but that is an issue that's on the radar right now.
Well, Chris, thank you so much for joining me this week.
Thank you, Dave.
Best wishes going forward if you do decide to run for county executive. We hope that goes well for you. And hope to have you back in a couple of months. If you do decide, come back and tell us how the campaign's going and keep us
Absolutely.
updated on that.
I'll do it, Dave. Thank
Well,
you, sir.
absolutely. So tune in next Friday on Facebook and YouTube right here on the Dave Ray Show Facebook page or the WLX Facebook page or the Dave Ray Show YouTube page. So join us next Friday right here on the Dave Ray Show.